there's a purpose and a reason behind it.
No, Darren Osborne made clear the reasons why he made his attack.
Does it worry you that he followed you on Facebook, he followed you on Twitter, he was part of the he joined up to the Rebel website? Does that worry you?
Does it worry you that there were 3 successful terrorist attacks before Darren Osborne? Darren Osborne reacted, okay, horrifically. Okay.
Yeah.
But why were you not talking about the 26 children who were blown up in Manchester?
I did talk about that. I was there outside the hospital.
So do you think that played any part in what Darren Osborne done?
Look.
Darren Osborne gave a note. Darren Osborne gave a letter of why he made that attack.
It didn't mention Tommy.
It didn't mention Tommy Robinson.
It shouldn't though, because it's not anything to do with those people.
So how is it anything to do with me? How are you? So it's nothing.
I'll tell you why I think there's a problem.
You don't think there's
a problem. Because you're right. You're right to say. You know, there are radical Islamic people who are blowing up Manchester Arena. We've seen the London attacks. You're right to say that, and you're right to say that there were people like Abu Hamza who were, you know, behind the scenes
fact,
a long time ago with a small group of people.
You went and met, who's a lovely fella. He's a radical.
Well, I'm talking about Abu Hamza because we know of the fact that he's Omar Bakri, who has inspired the Night Train cluster. And I just wonder if you see any parallels between people stirring up hatred against the West and causing people to commit terrorist attacks, and people stirring up hatred against Muslims and causing them to commit terrorist attacks, and not able to, and finding it hard to condemn that.
See the word hatred.
Yeah.
If I sit
here,
if I sit here and state facts, which I've done or which I will do, about Islam, is that hatred?
Look, I think I'm asking you if you worry.
I'm asking you
about and we can talk about what facts and what aren't facts, and a lot of it's about context and how you say it. And if you say something like that on the day after a terrorist attack, context is important.
Let's look. So on the day of that attack, we see attack at Finsbury Park Mosque. So we think, oh, that's what the media run with.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, let's look at Finsbury.
But did you watch it? Christ, why this guy follows me on Twitter or this guy follows me on Facebook?
No,
do I have any?
No, I looked and thought, Christ, why has he done this? So then I went on Finsbury Park Mosque website. I started looking up and I saw that the lead member of the mosque was a terrorist. I then started looking at all the extremism that they still have going on there. So then I tried to think, why has this happened? Because it's, when there's no light at the end of a tunnel, which is currently what we don't have, we have no solutions. Since David Cameron, after Lee Rigby was beheaded on the streets of London, David Cameron came out and he set a 5-year anti-extremism plan, okay, of how he was going to tackle this extremism and hatred. During that 5 years, he allowed 2,000 British Muslims to go and fight and train and behead people for ISIS. 700 of them have been allowed to come back. What I'm saying is, people see that the government are not up to solving this problem.
I think it's a bit high, by the way, 2,700.
2,000 went, 700 have come back. I know this because the lead officer of Bedfordshire Police, Rob Bartlett, come and saw me. I was due to be somewhere in London, and the lead inspector.
Figures, I can't, I don't think that figure's accurate.
Okay, well that's come from the Labour MP, Mr. Hussain.
I think it's about 800. Maybe we don't know how many come back. We genuinely don't know how many come back.
No, don't you think that's a problem?
Yeah.
Okay, so don't you think that's something that you should be alarmed about, rather than me giving a talk or giving facts?
Well, you can talk about it, and we will.
I can talk about it. You'll just blame me.
We have reported on it.
When there's been a terrorist attack.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is.
What matters is that Darren Osborne made it clear why he done this attack. He spoke about Al-Quds. He spoke about Jeremy Corbyn. He spoke about Islam. He spoke about rapes. He spoke about terrorism.
He followed you on Twitter. And he followed your Facebook.
And he followed Sky News. And he followed Sky News. And he followed Sky News. So does that mean he followed you on Twitter?
Well, I don't know if he followed.
Well, he followed Sky News, so it must be your fault. No, seriously.
No, but you know what I mean.
No, I don't know what you mean.
Well, what I'm trying to get at,
I know that you're trying to.
There's a group.
I know what you're trying to do.
No.
The public will also see what you're trying to do.
No.
And the reason for this is the public sees straight through your nonsense of what you're trying to do.
What's your? Do you see yourself as Islamophobic?
What is? You've just mentioned a word
Yeah.
that means nothing. A phobia. What is a phobia? A phobia is an irrational fear.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think it's rational when 26 children are blown up in Manchester, when we have
one Muslim, when there are 3.8 million in the country?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many there are. Do you think it's an irrational fear to worry when we see within a 4-month period we see a van kill 9? Injured 67. We see another attack. This is Westminster and London Bridge. We see all these attacks. Now, when we see these, and then we see statistics that say, well,
so it's okay to be worried.
Of course, we should be worried. And in fact, when we are worried and we base our worry in our fear.
Are you not worried about radicalized Islamic people who've taken the wrong interpretation of Islam, rather than?
Oh, it's the wrong interpretation. Says who?
Well, it says a lot of people who follow the Muslim faith.
You've read the Quran?
I have read the Quran. Yeah, only the English version.
And what did you think?
What did you think? I don't speak it.
What did you think?
What do you think?
There's 109 verses in that book that incite war and murder against non-Muslims. So I thought pretty.
Well, you could say that there's extreme language in the Bible.
Oh, so that's acceptable then?
No, I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying you're talking about an ancient text.
No, I'm saying why I'm worried. I'm saying why I'm worried, and you're trying to justify why I shouldn't be worried because the Bible says.
I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just challenging.
So I'll tell you why.
Are you concerned about Christians?
I'll tell you why I'm worried and why the majority of the British public are worried. Muhammad, who is seen as the moral compass for British Muslims, they believe he was perfect. Right? You agree with that?
Sorry, I just lost my mind.
Do you agree that Muslims believe Muhammad was perfect? Do you understand that? You understand that though?
I understand that they believe he was the prophet,
and he's perfect.
Well, I don't know if they believe
I know
they believe he's the prophet.
They believe he done nothing wrong. Now, I'll give you a book to read by Ibn Ishaq. It's the biography of Muhammad. If you read that book, you'll see that Muhammad beheaded 600 people in one day. You'll see that he tortured a man called Kanana, and you'll see that he raped a child. Now, when you see that, which I've read and I've learned and I've studied, and I think, hold on a minute, this man is a very immoral and very bad man. And then I see...
Well, Jesus said, I'm not coming to bring peace, but a sword.
Jesus.
So is he responsible for knife crime in London?
If they were holding up that exact verse, if every single knife criminal was holding up that verse saying Jesus told me to kill him, so I killed him, I'd be saying yes, that verse is responsible. I'm saying that Salman Abdi, for example, Salman Abdi could recite the Quran without looking at it. Okay, each other attack has. Lee Rigby's killer handed 55 verses written on a piece of paper to a woman in the street that he said forced him to do that killing.
Yeah. My point, do you not think they've got a warped idea? I mean, we don't see Christians running around with swords. No, do you not think they have a warped idea of what the Quran is actually preaching?
After reading the Quran and understanding abrogation and understanding that what Muhammad says later in his life supersedes what he says earlier, after understanding all of that, no, I believe that they are following out literal.
Then I would say to you that you've been radicalised.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd say that you're following the same understanding of Islam as the people who listen to Omar Bakri, who listen to Abu Hamza.
No, not just...
If you really believe that.
What about the 66% of people who would not report on a terrorist? Would you say they've been radicalised?
No, I'd say you've been radicalised because you believe in the same things as the followers of Abu Hamza.
So because
and your supporters, you're the only people who believe and would take that literally. Take the idea of not come in peace but bring a sword. Oh well, I better get a sword out.
No, that's because I understand Islam. So
you're not a theologian. You don't understand Islam.
I do understand.
You're not. You haven't studied. Have you read it in Arabic?
I've got the best.
Have you read the Quran in Arabic?
My Quran is the best-selling Quran in the world.
You haven't read the Arabic version, have you?
Oh, so because
but there's different interpretations, and what I'm saying is there are theologians who spend a lot of time. Of course, there are.
Which theologians?
Well, any imam.
Any imam.
Yeah, any imam who has studied it.
What about say for example, Luton's leading imam. His name's Kadir Bask, who I battled against for 8 years, and then in the end, he ended up once they translated his sermons, he was telling them to prepare their weapons and war ready for us. Is he wrong?
Well, it sounds like if he's inciting people towards violence, then of course he's wrong.
So just so we can,
I don't know because I haven't seen that.
Just so we can understand this, Boko Haram, ISIS, Al Qaeda. All of these groups, all of these organisations that run huge threat, they have all interpreted the Quran incorrectly, exactly the same way.
But my worry is that you believe that, then you believe that they have interpreted it the correct way.
No, I know they've interpreted it the correct way. What I'm saying is the majority
you've been radicalised.
No, the majority of Muslims do not follow the Quran. The majority of Muslims, if we go outside here and go into a local betting shop, it'll be full of Muslims, right? Yeah. They're not following Islam.
Well, a lot of Christians don't follow all the Ten Commandments.
I know.
And God said, if you don't follow the Ten Commandments, you'll eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters. It's pretty violent language.
What I'm saying is, if a Muslim,
because it was written years ago, centuries ago.
But you you understand that
over
Islam.
1,000.
You understand that Islam hasn't adapted or changed at all. The Quran is as it
Of
was.
course, it hasn't changed and adapted because you've just said people don't follow it to the letter, to the
But that
word. They
doesn't-
don't pick out a phrase
No,
and
you're
say,
right.
I have to do this
No, you're
because
right.
the Quran says it.
You're right, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that the Quran's does not incite that.
And it's the same with the Bible.
No. That doesn't mean we have the New Testament. That doesn't mean that the Quran doesn't incite that. So what you're saying is I'm wrong for reading correctly the book. What I'm saying is the majority of Muslims don't
I'm
take.
saying you don't necessarily read it correctly. And that
And you
there
do.
are 3.8 million Muslims in this country
Yeah.
who are living here peacefully.
Yes.
And
But they're
my
not all
fear
following-
is that you're suggesting that they're following a book that's suggesting that they shouldn't. And
the-
there's
the-
a
the-
very,
the-
very, very tiny
if you-
proportion
The
went
book,
to
the
fight.
book, the book divides. In fact, 4 times as many British Muslims went to join ISIS than joined the British Army. 4 times as many. So you can say it's a
Well,
tiny.
there were about, well, how many? Well, so realistically, there were about 800 went to
2,000.
Syria, maybe
2,000.
well, about 800.
2,000.
And the number who joined ISIS, some of them would have joined the forces that we were actually supporting fighting against Assad as well.
Yeah,
so,
that's because
so we
that-
don't know. So
well,
we
you
don't
mean
know
the
the
rebels.
exact
You
number.
mean
We
the
don't
rebels.
know the
The
we
rebels.
don't know
Yeah.
the exact number.
The other terrorist
who
organisations.
joined ISIS. So you're talking about roughly 0.01% of the population, the Muslim British population.
Yes.
So it's not a huge amount, is it?
You don't need a huge amount. They don't need a huge figure. We don't, to have terrorism and the things that I worry about, to have our country implode, which we'll see it, they don't need a huge number. I think Nazis were only 7%, weren't they, of Germany?
I think it came the entire population.
No, they were 7% of Germany. They were 7% when they took over, right?
Let's talk about.
My point is that you said I've been radicalised. So will you agree that if 66%, no, in fact, if we go for the 20% of British Muslims who believe someone should be violently attacked,
I don't know about these figures,
but why not?
so I can't comment on them.
Okay, well, they're
You
Trevor
can't
Phillips
ask me-
figures.
You can't.
But I'm asking,
you can't
hypothetically
ask me to
speaking,
comment
do
on
you
these
think
figures.
they've been
Listen, I'm interviewing you. Let's talk about this
Have you,
case.
can you quote one thing I've ever said where I've incited violence?
Well, I think this thing where you talk about the the Islamic community will feel the full force of the English Defence League if we see your fellow citizens killed again.
Yeah, demonstrations as an
Is-
organisation. We're a pressure group.
Well, you can interpret that any way you like.
Oh, no, you
Darren
can-
Osborne might have interpreted it one way.
Well, that was actually in 2009, 2010.
Yeah, but still.
Darren Osborne made clear the reasons why he committed the terrorist attack he did. He made it very clear. He actually blamed you guys as well, the media. And I believe the documentary Free Girls played a part in it, according to his wife. So we have the evidence.
Which shows actually that the media does report what's going on in places.
No, they
such as
didn't.
Telford
They've had to.
and Rotherham
They've had to now
and
report.
places
They've had to
like
now
that.
report.
Well, they've had to. But I
They've
mean,
had to.
Andrew Norfolk was,
No,
from
ac-
the Times, really did a great expose
Did he?
on what was going on.
Did he?
in
Andrew
Rotherham.
Norfolk, let me quote him. He was told, and he ignored it for 10 years. The only time he decided to do something was because he had to take it back from the far right. So his motives and reason for exposing the child grooming gangs
I can't
was
talk
not.
to you about his motives
but I
and
can tell
reasons,
you, I can tell you, it was not to help the children. It was not to stop the rapes. It was because he saw the English Defence
Oh,
League doing
come
it.
on.
I'm quoting his
Come
words.
on,
I'm quoting his
Tommy.
words.
As
I'm quoting his words. His words. He said
He
he knew.
did,
He knew it was going on for 10 years.
journalists don't.
He knew it was going on.
behave
The same as
like
all of you journalists knew it was going on. In every local
So
newspaper.
you're criticising the guy who exposed the Rotherham scandal.
I'm criticising the reasons why he exposed it, and I'm quoting him. He knew it was going on, but he done nothing. The reason he done nothing because it was brown Asian men raping young white children, the far right stream. That's what he said. I'm quoting him. The only reason why he decided to act on it was to take it back from the imaginary far right. His words.